The Grand Chamber of the Galactic Council fell silent as Ambassador Daniel Green stepped onto the speaking platform. His shoulders were straight, his expression calm despite the tension that filled the room. This marked the 17th attempt at establishing peaceful relations with the Caraxian Dominion, a species whose aggression had become legendary across 3 spiral arms of the galaxy. Representatives of the Council, honored delegates, Green began, his voice steady. Earth extends its hand in peace once more. Our proposal includes open trade routes through the Orion sector and scientific exchange at our deep space facilities. From their elevated platform, the Caraxian representatives clicked their mandibles in what humans had learned was their expression of contempt. The lead delegate, Supreme Commander Kizvak, rose to his full height, towering over the other council members. Humans speak of peace while building warships, Kizvak's translator boomed. Your species is weak. You hide behind words when you should prove your worth through strength. Green had expected this response. It was always the same. Insults followed by demands followed by threats. Still, he persisted. Our ships are for defense only. We have demonstrated this by. Enough. Kizvak slammed his armored claw against the podium. The Dominion rejects your pathetic offer. Be grateful we allow your kind to exist at all. The chamber erupted in murmurs. Several delegates exchanged worried glances. This rejection was more public, more humiliating than previous ones. Ambassador Green stood motionless for several seconds, then gathered his documents without a word and exited the chamber. In his private quarters, Green's communicator beeped. The news was worse than he had imagined. During his address to the council, a Caraxian battle group had attacked the Neptune Research Station, a civilian outpost dedicated to deep space astronomy. Initial reports counted 47 dead. No survivors. They timed it deliberately, Green whispered to himself, while I was speaking of peace. 12 hours later, Admiral Carolyn Winters stood aboard the bridge of the UES Defender, Earth's flagship. Her gray-streaked hair was pulled back in a tight bun, her uniform impeccable as always. She stared at the message displayed on her secure terminal, reading it for the 3rd time. From United Earth Government, Security Council. To Admiral C. Winters, Earth Defense Fleet, Sub-GCT, Neptune Research Station inside ENT. CLA Certification, Ultraviolet Priority. AFTR CVENTEN Diplomatic ATMPCs, and 40 CVEN Civilian Casualties. The Security Council, HAS Human Animals as the TETQCHANG, Avoir AP Puroch, 2VDXFRAXIN38. No memory diplomacy. Impletement to mental INGENCY plan thalandir CLIP adnamediate heli. All necessary resources are at your disposal. End transmission. Admiral Winters closed her eyes briefly. For years, she had watched as Earth tried the diplomatic approach while quietly building its defenses. The Exaraxians had mistaken patience for weakness. It was a fatal error on their part. Communications, she said, her voice cutting through the quiet hum of the bridge. Yes, Admiral, the young officer responded. Send the activation code to all fleet commanders. Authorization Winters, Alpha 77. Message begins. Thunderclap is a go. I repeat, Thunderclap is a go. Time to show the galaxy what happens when humanity loses patience. As the message went out, Admiral Winters turned to her tactical display. The Caraxians had no idea what was coming. They had pushed Earth too far, and now they would learn a harsh lesson. Sometimes the most dangerous species are the ones that try hardest to avoid conflict, because when those species finally decide to fight, they don't hold back. William Carter didn't look like a man planning the most decisive military operation in human history. At 53, With thinning brown hair and wire-rimmed glasses, he resembled a university professor more than Earth's top military strategist. In his underground office beneath the Rocky Mountains, he studied holographic displays showing Cyraxian fleet movements. "Operation Thunderclap," he muttered, adjusting the three-dimensional battle projections. 300 ships, moving as one, hitting 27 targets simultaneously. The plan had taken 5 years to develop in absolute secrecy. Not even the Galactic Council knew of its existence. Carter had designed it as humanity's final option. The response when diplomacy had been exhausted. That time had come. A soft chime announced a visitor. The heavy security door slid open, revealing Olivia Martinez. The chief engineer's dark hair was pulled back in a practical ponytail, and her eyes showed signs of too little sleep. "It's ready," she said simply, placing a small device on Carter's desk. He picked up the object, a metallic cube barely larger than a sugar cube. "This is it, the stealth module." Martinez nodded. 5 years of research. It bends light, absorbs radar, and masks energy signatures. The Cyraxians won't see our ships until we're right on top of them. "How many have you produced?" 312. One for each ship in the fleet, plus spares. Martinez's expression was grim. "They killed my sister on Neptune Station. I made sure these work perfectly." Carter nodded. "I'm sorry about your sister. The Cyraxians will understand their mistake very soon." Captain Samuel Reeves watched as technicians installed the stealth module into the heart of the UES Valiant. At 42, Reeves had spent half his life in space, but he'd never seen technology like this. "Will it affect our weapons systems?" he asked the installation chief. "No, sir. Once activated, you'll be completely invisible to sensors, but you can still fire at full capacity. The enemy won't know what hit them." Reeves nodded, running his hand along the ship's bulkhead. The Valiant was being transformed from an exploration vessel to the tip of humanity's spear. New armor plating, enhanced weapon systems, and now this stealth technology, all developed in secret, while diplomats like Green kept the Cyraxians distracted with peace talks. "How much longer?" 4 hours, Captain. Then we begin crew training on the new systems. "Make it 3, Reeves ordered. "Admiral Winters wants us ready to move in 48 hours. Lieutenant Lisa Morgan hunched over her console in the tactical analysis department, her blue eyes fixed on the screen. For months, she had been studying Cyraxian defense patterns, looking for any weakness. Now, finally, she'd found it. Their planetary defense grid recycles every 6.3 hours, she explained to the officers gathered around her. There's a 3-second window when the power reroutes between substations. Admiral Winters leaned closer to the display. 3 seconds isn't much time to get a fleet through. It's enough if we hit all 27 defense stations at exactly the same moment, Morgan replied. They designed their system assuming no enemy could coordinate that precisely, but we can. Winters studied the young lieutenant. You're certain about this? Morgan nodded confidently. I've triple-checked the data. It's their one vulnerability, and they don't even know it exists. Good work, Lieutenant. You'll coordinate the timing of the attack personally. As the meeting ended, Morgan returned to her calculations. In her mind, she could already see the fleet slipping through the Cyraxian defenses like ghosts. The enemy believed humans were technologically inferior, lacking the coordination for complex military maneuvers. They were wrong. Humanity had simply been patient, watching and learning, preparing for the moment when patience would run out. That moment had arrived. The Cyraxian High Commander Kizvak watched with satisfaction as human transport ships departed from their embassy on Galactic Central Station. His secondary eyes blinked in sequence, a sign of pleasure among his kind. They flee, he said to his subordinates, just as I predicted. Earth had withdrawn all diplomatic missions overnight. No explanations, no formal communications. Human representatives across the galaxy simply packed their belongings and left their posts within hours of each other. Kisvak's aide approached with a data tablet. High Commander, reports confirm human withdrawal from diplomatic channels across all 17 sectors. They have also recalled personnel from their outer colonies. Their mining operations on Titan have ceased. Research outposts in the Kuiper Belt show minimal activity. They fear us. Kisvak clicked his mandibles triumphantly. The destruction of their Neptune station has shown them the cost of defiance. In the private chambers of the Galactic Council, representatives from 12 species debated the meaning of humanity's sudden retreat. "It makes no sense," said the Tellurian ambassador, his crystalline form shimmering with concern. "Humans have been stubbornly persistent in seeking peace for decades. Why abandon everything now?" The ancient Vorde representative stirred from her meditation. "In my 8 centuries of observing younger species, I have never seen humans act from fear alone. There is more to this than retreat." "Perhaps," offered the Medusan diplomat, "they simply recognize the futility of dealing with Exoraxians and are consolidating their position." None of the theories satisfied the Council, but with humans gone from diplomatic channels, they had no way to ask for explanations. At the edge of the Sol system, beyond the orbit of Pluto, Captain Samuel Reeves stood on the bridge of the UES Valiant. Through the viewscreen, he watched as ships gathered in formation: cruisers, destroyers, and specialized strike vessels. None displayed running lights. All communication was conducted through tight-beam encrypted channels. "Fleet assembly at 94%, Captain," reported his executive officer. Reeves nodded. "And the colony evacuations?" "Complete. All civilians have been relocated to Earth and Mars. The outer colonies appear abandoned, just as planned." This was the most difficult part of Operation Thunderclap, making it appear that humanity was retreating when they were actually preparing to strike. The strategy relied on the Xaraxians' arrogance, their belief that humans would run rather than fight. "Message from Admiral Winters, sir," the communications officer announced. "All ships have successfully installed the Martinez stealth modules. Final testing complete." Reeves allowed himself a small smile. "Acknowledge receipt. Inform the Admiral that Valiant Battle Group is ready to proceed." On her flagship, Admiral Carolyn Winters reviewed the final deployment plans. Lieutenant Morgan stood beside her, making last-minute adjustments to the timing calculations. "The Xaraxians are celebrating," Morgan reported. "Our intelligence shows they're interpreting our withdrawal as surrender." Winters nodded grimly. "Pride before the fall. Are the jump coordinates finalized?" "Yes, Admiral. Each ship has its precise arrival point. We'll emerge simultaneously at all 27 targets when their defense grid cycles." The Admiral studied the tactical display, where hundreds of small blue dots represented Earth's fleet. Soon, those ships would jump across light years of space to appear without warning in the heart of Xaraxian territory. "Send the final preparation order," Winters commanded. "All ships to battle stations. Stealth systems active. We jump in 6 hours." As the orders went out, Winters gazed at the stars visible through the observation dome. For decades, humanity had endured Xaraxian aggression, always extending the hand of peace only to be met with violence. The galaxy saw this as weakness, not understanding that humans had been measuring their opponent all along. Now, the Xaraxians believed they had won without a fight. They had never been more wrong. Olivia Martinez took a deep breath as she faced the wall of monitors. Her engineering team stood ready at their stations, fingers hovering over activation controls. The culmination of 5 years' work came down to this moment. "Begin final sequence," she ordered. Across 300 warships scattered throughout the formation, chief engineers received the synchronized command. One by one, they confirmed readiness. Stealth network initialization in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Engage. A ripple of energy pulsed through the fleet. On external cameras, the ships seemed to waver like mirages in desert heat before fading from view. Sensor readings flatlined. To any observer, the space where Earth's armada gathered now appeared empty. Martinez watched the telemetry with fierce concentration. Power fluctuations within acceptable parameters. Thermal masking holding steady. Cross-interference negligible. She allowed herself a moment of grim satisfaction. The network is operational. Admiral. The fleet is invisible. Admiral Winter's face appeared on the main screen. Well done, Engineer Martinez. Your sister would be proud. Martinez nodded once, swallowing the lump in her throat. Make them pay for Neptune Station. Aboard the UES Defender, Admiral Winters faced the communications array. The message she was about to send would mark a turning point in human history. Open a direct channel to the Xeraxian High Command, she instructed. Authentication code Winter 7 Delta 9. The communications officer looked surprised. Ma'am, that will reveal our position. For approximately 3 seconds. That's the point. Winters straightened her uniform. Send exactly what I dictate, nothing more. When the channel opened, Winters spoke 7 words. You should have listened. Now observe carefully. She cut the transmission before any response could come. The brief message would be reaching Xeraxian Command just as Lieutenant Morgan initiated the coordinated jump. Lieutenant Lisa Morgan sat surrounded by holographic displays showing the status of all 300 ships. Her fingers danced across the controls as she made microsecond adjustments to the jump calculations. Defense grid recycling detected, she announced. Counting down to vulnerability window. 20 seconds. Across the fleet, engines hummed to life. Jump drives powering up while remaining cloaked under Martinez's stealth technology. 10 seconds. All ships synchronized. Morgan had rehearsed this moment in simulations thousands of times, but now real lives depended on her precision. If even one ship arrived off target or out of sequence, the entire operation could fail. 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1. She pressed the activation key. Jump initiated. Throughout the fleet, space-time folded around each vessel. In perfect unison, 300 warships vanished from the edge of Sol system. In the Grand Chamber of the Galactic Council, an emergency session had been called. The Vorde representative had insisted on presenting troubling evidence she had received anonymously. These records show 17 unprovoked Xeraxian attacks on human outposts over the past decade, she explained, as images of destroyed stations and civilian casualties filled the chamber's display. The council members watched in stunned silence as video footage showed Xeraxian warships firing on the unarmed Neptune research station. The humans never revealed these attacks, the Tellurian ambassador noted. Why keep such aggression secret? Before anyone could answer, the Medusan communication expert rushed into the chamber. Urgent news. Our sensors detect massive spatial distortions throughout Xeraxian territory. Hundreds of jump signatures appearing simultaneously at their military installations. The council erupted in confusion as tactical displays showed the unfolding situation. Somehow, Earth's supposedly inferior fleet had appeared without warning at every major Xeraxian military site simultaneously. Impossible, whispered the Tellurian. Their technology can't do that. The ancient Vorde's eyes glowed with understanding. It seems the humans' patience wasn't weakness after all. It was preparation. As the council watched in amazement, Earth's invisible fleet revealed itself inside Xeraxian defenses, weapons already firing with surgical precision. Operation Thunderclap had begun. The Xeraxian defense coordinator stared in disbelief at his monitoring station. One moment, the screen showed normal operations across all 27 military installations. The next, alarms blared as human warships materialized inside their defensive perimeter. Impossible, he shouted. How did they bypass the outer sensors? There was no time for answers. The UES Valiant appeared less than 5 kilometers from the Xeraxian military headquarters on their homeworld. Captain Samuel Reeves stood calmly on the bridge as his weapons officer awaited the command. Target their communications array and power distribution hubs, Reeves ordered. Precision strikes only. Minimize civilian casualties. The Valiant's advanced weapons systems locked onto the targets with unerring accuracy. Beams of concentrated energy sliced through Thoraxian defenses as if they were paper. "Sir, they're attempting to launch fighter squadrons," reported the tactical officer. "Let them," Reeves replied. "Engineer Martinez's stealth technology works both ways. Their targeting systems can't lock onto us." Throughout Thoraxian space, the pattern repeated. Human ships appeared without warning, striking with surgical precision. Military installations, weapons platforms, and command centers erupted in controlled explosions. Defensive shields that the Thoraxians had believed impenetrable failed against weapons technology they had never seen before. High Commander Kizvak rushed to the central command bunker, mandibles clicking in agitation. "Report," he demanded. "Simultaneous attacks across all defense sectors," his aide responded, voice trembling. "They're using technology we didn't know they possessed. Our ships can't target them properly." "Impossible," Kizvak hissed. "They are primitives. Their ships were decades behind ours." "Apparently not, sir. It seems they've been concealing their true capabilities." On the main screen, Kizvak watched as a squadron of their most advanced fighters launched toward a human destroyer. The pilots reported visual contact, but their targeting computers couldn't lock on. The human vessel shifted position, released a pulse of energy that disabled the fighter systems, then systematically disabled each craft without destroying them. "They're toying with us," Kizvak realized with dawning horror. Admiral Winters monitored the operation from the UES Defender. Battle reports streamed in from all sectors, confirming success after success. "Admiral, the Thoraxian Orbital Defense Network has been neutralized," reported her executive officer. "Fleet captains report 90% of military targets disabled. Minimal civilian casualties as ordered." Winters nodded. "And our losses?" "3 ships damaged, no losses. The Martinez stealth modules are performing beyond expectations." The Admiral allowed herself a small smile. "We've made our point. Signal the fleet to begin Phase 2, containment and isolation of remaining Thoraxian forces." On the Thoraxian homeworld, panic spread through the military leadership. 3 hours into the human attack, nearly all their space-worthy vessels were disabled. Command centers lay in ruins. For the first time in their history, the Thoraxians faced an enemy they couldn't overpower. In his increasingly isolated bunker, High Commander Kizvak received the final blow to his pride. A direct communication from Captain Reeves aboard the Valiant. "This is Captain Samuel Reeves of Earth. For decades, you've mistaken our restraint for weakness. Today, that misconception ends. We could have done this years ago, but we chose peace. You chose war." The human captain's face showed no anger, no triumph, only calm certainty. "In 3 hours, we've dismantled military infrastructure it took your species centuries to build. We've disabled your forces while sparing your people. This demonstration is now complete." Kizvak's secondary eyes blinked rapidly, a sign of extreme distress among his kind. "The diplomatic team you humiliated will return to present terms. I suggest you listen carefully this time." As the transmission ended, Kizvak gazed out at his burning capital. The humans had revealed themselves as the most dangerous species in the galaxy, not because of their aggression, but because of how long they had concealed their true strength while seeking peace. 6 hours after Operation Thunderclap began, 90% of Thoraxian military capability lay in ruins, with barely a shot fired in effective defense. The Galactic Council chamber was filled beyond capacity. Representatives from every spacefaring civilization had gathered, drawn by news of humanity's stunning military action. Admiral Carolyn Winters stood at the central podium, her uniform pristine, her expression resolute. "Distinguished representatives," she began, her voice carrying throughout the vast chamber. "For 57 years, humanity has sought peaceful relations with the Thoraxian Dominion. For 57 years, our diplomats have been humiliated, our colonies harassed, and our civilians killed. The admiral gestured, and holographic images appeared above the assembly. The destroyed Neptune research station, the ruins of mining outposts on Titan, the remains of exploration vessels ambushed in neutral territory. These attacks were never revealed to this council, not because we feared the Xeraxians, but because we believed in the possibility of peace without intervention. Murmurs spread through the chamber as the evidence continued to unfold. Many delegates shifted uncomfortably in their seats, aware they had dismissed human complaints as exaggerations. The attack you witnessed yesterday was not an act of aggression, but a measured response after all diplomatic options were exhausted. The Terexian representative, a hastily appointed junior diplomat, replacing the disgraced Kezvak, rose to object. The humans violated our sovereign territory without provocation. Without provocation. Winters raised an eyebrow. Perhaps you should review the evidence more carefully. William Carter entered the chamber next, carrying nothing but a small data crystal. The military strategist placed it in the council's central reader. This contains the complete operational plans for what we called Operation Thunderclap, he explained. I developed this strategy 8 years ago, when the Xeraxians destroyed our first scientific outpost. The council members leaned forward as the plans appeared in holographic form. As you can see, Carter continued, we could have executed this operation at any point in the past 5 years. We chose restraint. We chose to try diplomacy 17 more times. The ancient Vorde representative studied the plans with glowing eyes. These tactical assessments are remarkably precise. You knew their weaknesses all along. We did, Carter confirmed. Every insult we endured in this chamber was time we used to study and prepare. Not because we wanted war, but because we needed to be ready when diplomacy failed. Olivia Martinez stepped forward next, activating a demonstration of the stealth technology that had allowed the human fleet to strike with such devastating effectiveness. This technology alone could have made Earth the dominant power in this sector years ago, she explained, showing how the system worked. Instead, we developed it in secret, hoping we would never need to use it. She deactivated the hologram with a flick of her wrist. The Xeraxians believed our technological inferiority was a fact. In reality, it was a choice, a facade we maintained while working toward peace. The council chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. Humanity had possessed the means to defeat the Xeraxians for years, yet had repeatedly chosen restraint. Ambassador Daniel Green entered last, looking remarkably calm for a man who had been humiliated in this very chamber days earlier. He carried a sealed document case. Representatives of the Galactic Council, I return with new terms for the Xeraxian Dominion, he announced, opening the case. The Xeraxian diplomat's mandibles clicked nervously. These terms are non-negotiable, Green continued. Complete military disarmament, reparations for all destroyed human outposts, territorial restrictions enforced by a council peacekeeping force. He slid the document across to the Xeraxian representative. The alternative is simple. Humanity will finish what Operation Thunderclap began. Your civilization has 24 hours to decide. Green looked directly at the Xeraxian. This time, I suggest you listen carefully. Humanity's patience has reached its end. The chamber remained silent as the gravity of the situation became clear. Earth hadn't just won a military victory. They had changed the balance of power throughout the galaxy in a single, precisely executed operation. And they had done it without a trace of the revenge or cruelty that had defined Xeraxian military actions for centuries. The Xeraxian surrender came 19 hours after Ambassador Green presented the terms, not with pride or defiance, but with quiet acknowledgement of a reality they could no longer deny. The document was signed in the council chamber, with representatives from all major galactic powers serving as witnesses. High Commander Kezvak, once the embodiment of Xeraxian military might, entered the chamber with his head lowered. His once gleaming ceremonial armor had been removed, replaced by the simple robes of a civilian. On behalf of the Xeraxian Dominion, he stated, his translator conveying the flat tone of defeat, I accept the terms presented by Earth. Ambassador Green nodded, showing neither triumph nor satisfaction. The United Earth government acknowledges your acceptance. Disarmament inspectors will arrive tomorrow. Reparation payments will begin within 30 days. As Kizivak signed the document, hushed conversations broke out among the other galactic representatives. The speed of Earth's victory and the completeness of the Taraxian capitulation had shocked them all. News of the surrender spread quickly. On 12 worlds across 3 spiral arms, military leaders of aggressive species called emergency meetings. Battle plans against human colonies were quietly archived. Provocative fleet movements were canceled. Diplomatic overtures replaced threatening postures. The Draconian Emperor, whose forces had been preparing to test human defenses near Alpha Centauri, personally ordered the withdrawal of his battle groups. If the humans could hide such power from the Taraxians, he told his advisors, imagine what they might be concealing from us. Similar conversations occurred across the galaxy. Species that had viewed humanity as technologically inferior or militarily weak suddenly reassessed their intelligence. Diplomatic requests to Earth increased 300% in the week following Operation Thunderclap. Lieutenant Lisa Morgan stood before Admiral Winters and a committee of galactic representatives. At 32, she found herself responsible for implementing the most ambitious security initiative in Council history. The Interspecies Defense Force will combine personnel from all member worlds, she explained, pointing to the organizational chart on display. Using Earth's coordination protocols and a modified version of our stealth technology, the IDF will serve as peacekeepers in disputed territories. The Tellurian ambassador raised a crystalline appendage. Will Earth maintain separate military forces? Yes, Morgan replied. But we'll share defensive technologies with all Council members who signed the Treaty of Mutual Protection. This was the masterstroke of Earth's new strategy, transforming their military advantage into diplomatic leverage. By sharing defensive capabilities while keeping their most advanced offensive systems secret, humanity ensured both their security and their influence. 1 month after the Taraxian surrender, the Galactic Council convened to ratify what became known as the Earth Doctrine. Ambassador Green presented the core principles. First, all species have the right to exist without fear of aggression. Second, diplomatic solutions should always be pursued before military action. Third, patience has limits, and crossing those limits has consequences. The Council chamber, once a place where humans were dismissed and humiliated, fell silent as the vote was taken. The Earth Doctrine passed unanimously. As Green left the chamber, Admiral Winters met him in the corridor. Congratulations, Ambassador. The galaxy looks very different now. Green nodded thoughtfully. We never wanted to demonstrate our strength this way. Sometimes the greatest power comes not from what you do, Winters replied, but from what you choose not to do until absolutely necessary. Together, they looked through the station's viewing portal at the stars. Humanity had entered the galactic community as explorers and diplomats, had endured decades of threats and attacks while building their strength in secret, and had finally revealed their true capabilities in one decisive moment. The galaxy would never forget the lesson. Humanity's patience was extraordinary, but when it ran out, the consequences were equally extraordinary. Throughout the stars, a new understanding emerged. Humans weren't just another spacefaring species. They were perhaps the most dangerous civilization of all, precisely because they tried so hard not to be.